everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. We're doing a podcast. Alex Navarro, how are you this fine morning?
Oh, I'm getting by. I'm slowly but surely continuing to pluck away at this basement and turn it into an actual workspace and not just a pile of shit behind me. But, it takes time.
It does take. Sometimes it never goes away. Some say it never ends.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Shoemaker, welcome back to the basement crew.
Yeah, that's right. Just doing the suburb thing here. Went on a little walkabout this morning.
Okay.
About the neighborhood.
And how is the neighborhood holding up?
That's good. I might cut the grass after this.
Okay, you talked about that last time. Still, you got the tools, the means.
That's right.
To cut the
Now
grass.
you have the talent.
Is it rainy over there? Is it raining out today? Is it wet?
It's wet every day. You can't mow in the morning around here. Is that an everywhere thing?
It's been around here. It's been fairly dry at around, I'd say 9 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock. It's not too dewy. Mowing wet grass, not great. Not fun.
No.
Not fun.
I'm excited to find out how quiet this battery-powered mower is. We talked about this.
Is it? I didn't ask this question though. Is it a bagging mower, or do you just let it fall back into the ground?
No, this is full on. Clean out the underside of the mower.
Okay, spray it with a hose, kind of thing.
Yep.
Oh, that clumpy grass. If you let that stuff sit, the clumpy grass is no good. Alex, have you mowed again? Welcome to the Mowcast.
Thank you. No, I haven't. Mine does have the bag, though it does not collect all of it. It just collects a lot of it. But I didn't last time actually check the underside to see if there was any clumpy grass under there. So when I mow it this weekend, that will be the first thing I check.
Make sure you turn it off before you do that.
Yes. How do we feel about the post yard mowing reward beer? Is that
necessary?
A thing?
What, post? What are you talking about? During?
Okay, I just get yourself one of those beer hats.
I was mowing the lawn once with the coffee in my hand, pushing the mower with the one hand, and somebody walking by remarked on just how lazy, in my mind was just how fucking lazy. Imagine me with like my beer and my big sun hat and just pushing the mower with one hand. I think she was just like, "You look very comfortable." It's like, I had the earbuds in, listened to a podcast. That's the way to do it. Again, not a big yard. Okay to just push this little mower around with one hand. I assume if I had more, I would have to concentrate more. I'd say my mower, I could do the front and the back, 20 minutes.
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Like I said.
That's about how long the back took for me. I think maybe slightly, and add another 5 or 10 minutes for the front just because the front's a little awkward.
Yes.
I had a regular 2-hour-long mowing engagement in high school, which is how I bought my first PlayStation.
Oh, see, that's...
I think it was every week. It took me 2 hours. I got $50 for it.
$50 is pretty good back then.
That's not bad.
Yeah. I was charging 10 to 15, I think, for suburban plots.
Yeah.
At the time.
Well, again, this was a huge yard.
Back then, you could buy yourself one video game that was on sale for that kind of money.
There was room for like 3 houses on this plot of land.
Did you have to bring your own mower at that point?
No, my grandma lived next door, so I would go over there and mow her yard for free.
Okay.
And then she would let me use her lawnmower to do the job.
And pay for the gas? She would pay for the gas and stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Did you do snow shoveling too?
That
sounds rough.
We don't get enough. You mean for money? We don't get enough snow around here for that.
Oh, you're kidding. Okay, I thought maybe it would be like plows would have to come for those big driveways and stuff.
Oh, well, like maybe once a winter.
Okay,
or something.
We used to do the snow. I did fewer lawns and more snow shoveling when I was a kid, and then all those fun jobs to do when you're walking around in the winter. Now, we still get people coming, but they're mostly adults who are. I rarely see kids coming around to shovel. It's like crews that come around now. And they'll just do it. They'll do it in like 10 minutes because they have like 5 guys.
There's like some roving landscaping crew that comes to at least a few houses around here. I think it's all the same landscaping company, and they just come in and they're clearly on an every 2-week schedule.
Yeah.
And then they just show up, lawnmowers in hand, just fucking hack away at that shit, and then they are gone, like, in 20 minutes. And it's like, I understand why you do that, but none of the houses in my neighborhood have that big of a lawn, and I'm kind of like, Sam and I kind of looked at each other and were like, are we saps for doing this ourselves? Should we hire someone? And it was like, no.
Look,
we don't have that much lawn.
Also, this is going to sound so suburban curmudgeon-y, but like, I got a thing for gas leaf blowers. They're so goddamn loud. They're just so goddamn loud.
Oh, they suck.
And if I can stop a gas leaf blower from being on my property, I'm doing my part. So loud. Swarm of bees. I don't know if you've gotten that yet, Alex, but they're so loud.
No, yeah, I hear them every now and again outside, usually during the middle of the day. It's not good. I don't like them, is the thing.
I think I talked to the landscaper. Actually, my wife did. Whenever I say I talk to somebody, a stranger, it's my wife. Just take that as my wife. I talked to somebody because I don't like talking to people. And the landscaper, and they said it just was not practical for them to go electric because of everybody would have to basically have the batteries at their place that they then would charge at the house, and then when they got there, use the battery thing. I got through about a battery and a half on my lawnmower for my front and backyard.
I mean, they're not enormous batteries, but the thing is, if you invest in a few of them, a lot of them are interchangeable between different equipment, especially if it's a particular brand. So I feel like that is more of I don't want to do the upfront investment. I'm just going to keep using gas. Well,
you got to charge them. And you can't. Yes. It's hard to charge them on the road, and if you run out of batteries I get some of the logistics, but we were willing to be like, hey, if we just give you we'll have the batteries. Tell us what brand you're buying, and we'll keep 2 batteries in our house, and then you just use them when you come to our house.
My point is not that there are not logistics to be solved, more that you could solve them if you really wanted to.
I think if there were an ordinance that pushed things in a way, that would probably be helpful, right? Like, hey,
yes. Because as we know, that's the only way anyone will ever do anything.
Or if it winds up being like, this would be a lot cheaper for you because of gas. But yes, I don't know.
Tax credits. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to solve everything through tax credits.
What if all 3 of us got out there with weed eaters at the same time, and we were all going at it, but then each one of us only leveled up every 3rd time, and also all the plants were shooting fireballs at us.
This is a great.
I see where you're going with this.
Yes, I love this. Yes. Let's talk about Baldur's Gate. Just kidding. Let's talk about Vampire Survivors.
The latest video game.
Hottest game of 2023.
Just came out. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's this neat little game. It's like a Vegas, Las Vegas, and Castlevania rolled into one. Vampire. It feels like, yeah.
Does anybody? I'm sure somebody brought this up last year when this blew up. Like, it feels like the kind of thing that somebody would get angry about. Somebody in their 40s who's not us would get angry. What do you mean I don't press any buttons? What do you mean it's a game that I played with one hand? Like back in my day?
Sure, yes. This doesn't classify as a video game. This game plays itself. This is Vampire Survivor has been out for a while now.
Yeah, kind of having like a little bit of a relaunch right now. It feels like, or it's expanding.
They've been putting out their DLC kind of consistently, but the big thing that just dropped and we checked out on Monday was the Vampire Survivors co-op, or at least on the PC we checked out. Is that out officially now?
It is out as of, I believe, the day after we are recording this. Okay. So when the general public hears this, it should be out.
We checked it out on the PC. We all played together, 3 folks. We didn't really know what to expect, which was kind of exciting, how they were going to implement this, and maybe they had stated in other places, but I had not kept up, and was kind of impressed with the implementation of it. So you kind of load up your game, you immediately can just have other people join locally, I should say, and reinforce. This is local co-op. So we played on the PC, and we played via Parsec, where it's a piece of software where people can connect to your computer and join in as if they were local, but it's a remote thing. So it's bridging that gap. But this is local co-op only. And we played, and it's interesting. You jump in, everybody picks a character. We started from a fresh save, and it goes kind of in a sequential order for who is getting the next upgrade as you gather XP on the map. So everybody gathers XP, it gets pooled into one XP bar. That triggers the first person gets to pick their thing. The next time the second person does, and third.
I didn't know how they were going to handle the leveling, but I did not think of that as a possibility.
Yeah,
like, there's the obvious, there's the awful choice of everybody's just getting their own XP, and whoever picks it up gets it and levels, which is bound to,
make me never want to play that ever.
Harkening back to the days of 2-player Contra and stealing the other player's lives when you're out type shit. That would have been the wrong choice, but then I don't know, but I think a lot of the options for how you would split XP would have been pretty unsatisfying, but this feels probably the most elegant that I can think of, and also does lead to the fun occasional interlude of yelling at somebody to pick the goddamn team item, goddamn it.
So there is, you get presented, well, I should say this also. Instead of your normal, is it 6 items? 6 items you're able to get? I forget what the
it's 6 weapons. Isn't that right, Alex?
It's 6 support?
6 weapons, 6 support.
Normally that is what you get, yeah.
So in this case, at least in the 3-player we played, everybody gets 3. And so you kind of have to be choosy in what you're going to kind of spec out. So you take what you want, but then every once in a while, I don't know if it's random or what, I would assume random, you get an option to level up one existing item for every player, that is every player-controlled player, obviously. And that one just seems like, of course, you take that when you get it. Because unless you're in a situation where that person is, maybe 1 away from doing their evolution on a weapon or a very particular case, but that kind of rotation of leveling up does lead to interesting things where you're choosing what to focus on. The next player is also going to be choosing. And if you're not paying attention, you could kind of mess somebody else up or mess yourself up pretty easily because you don't have a lot of wiggle room because you only have the 3 slots and 3 support.
Yeah. It's a really interesting implementation of this concept, and especially in a game where they are bolting it onto an existing thing and not redesigning for a sequel.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like it doesn't work perfectly, but I think it's about as good an implementation of that sort of thing as you could do in a game that already exists. But I will say the one thing that was kind of throwing me off a little bit is the idea that it seems like when you get a weapon, none of the other players can get that.
Oh yeah.
And the idea of balancing that where it's like, okay, because I have certain weapons that I tend to gravitate toward, but if you're on a team situation, sometimes it makes sense to spread that stuff out more. And also having the limited of you only have 3 weapons and 3 bonuses. I don't know if that changes if you unlock more stuff, because we were playing in your game, Vinny.
Yeah.
And you don't have a lot of stuff unlocked in that one. And I'm just kind of wondering what happens if you end up in a situation where it's like, hey, we have 1,000 weapons that are available to us. Do I still only have 3 available? But, again, I think it's one of those things where it's like they are doing their best to solve what feels like a fairly confusing problem. And I don't know, I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like they've done a good job with this. I don't know if it's how I want to be playing this game full time.
Not full time, but I absolutely want to play more of it. I went into this stream going yeah, I guess that'll be interesting to check out. I don't know if that'll be fun for a whole stream or not, but let's give it a shot. And by the end of 2 hours, I was like, we have to do this again.
Yeah,
it's super interesting. The extra slots are there on the UI still.
They're just
got a big
X'd
red
out.
X through them, so that makes me wonder if you can get some. Maybe there are new upgrades that let you unlock those eventually. The big downside you run into is that everybody, every individual player is underpowered compared to single player because you've got fewer weapons. You're only leveling every 3 levels, so any one person's damage output is severely compromised compared to single player. So positioning would be super important if we had bothered to actually think about it instead of just going, if you really wanted to go hard on it, everybody would be sort of oh, you've got more horizontal attacks. I've got the Song of Mana. I'm getting the giant columns up and down. If we kind of stick together and position this way, then we can kind of clear more easily. So it's there's a lot of considerations there that are not there in the single player.
Or conceptually also interesting because it's an auto attack game, so you can think about, if you really zoom out 20,000 foot view, if Brad, you have an ability that's auto firing and I have an ability that's auto firing, how different is it than if I just had both of those abilities auto-firing, right? It's really very similar, except now the enemies are moving in different patterns because they're aggroing different people on different parts of the map. And then also you're deciding now whether you want to pursue that upgrade path for an item versus I'm deciding whether to pursue that upgrade. So and you split the evolution, right? If that's a big consideration. The other thing we should mention in the balancing of it is, I just mentioned the aggro. That's kind of a big deal because in a single player, you're pulling creatures along a path.
Yeah, I mentioned that during the stream, how weird it is to play that game and see enemies moving away from you.
Yeah, because like you said, Brad, a lot of the weapons are directional. There's certain patterns to the weapon, and sometimes you use that to your advantage when you're pulling enemies around the screen. The other balance thing that happens here is when a player gets killed, they are just taken out of the game. They're downed, basically, in video game parlance, let's say, for a set amount of time, and then they come back. So as long as multiple players or at least one player is alive in the game, you're just waiting for that timer for the other player to tick down, and they can come back, but they're kind of swarmed immediately.
It's the most Vampire Survivors solution to that scenario that I could think of. Like, yeah, they don't even make you go res the other players. They just come back after a pretty short timer. It's like,
yeah,
it couldn't be more than 15 seconds that you're down in that little coffin before you pop back out. But the big fuck you is, in the meantime, yeah, like enemies are not only swarming the little coffin that you're dead in, but they appear to be getting bigger and stronger as they do so.
They at
least get bigger. But yes. And then you may get a little bit of invulnerability when you pop out, but it's not a lot. And
it's very short.
And it can be very tough to exit that situation. But we did multiple times, and we're able to recover from that. We didn't clear any levels, but again, we were pretty early on. The upgrade path seems to pool gold, so you can still spend that gold on universal upgrades that seem to apply to every player that's in the game. Unlocking characters seems to be a little bit weird. We didn't quite understand because you have 3 unlocked if you're playing in a 3-player game out of the gate, but then when somebody else chose a different player, it seemed like it would lock the initial player behind a paywall.
What it seems to be doing is that if you only have the default character unlocked, it unlocks the first 3 for you if you are playing multiplayer, but then once you start unlocking characters manually, those other ones go back behind the the gold paywall until you actually go in and unlock them in your game.
So it'll make sure you at least have 3 unlocked, and then once you have one, it'll just say, you paid for this, now we're going to lock up this other character.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Which I think is probably the only way you can do that, because, and again, like, you start unlocking characters in that game so early that it's not a big problem for anyone who's been playing it for more than a couple of hours.
The progression was fun. The progression was fun with multiple people. It's just a very different experience, which is, I think, the biggest compliment I could give to them implementing this multiplayer is that it changes the loop or changes the mechanics and the way you think about Vampire Survivors in a way that makes it different enough that makes going back to it kind of a different game or a new experience.
Definitely. Its biggest success is that I came out of it feeling like it was new enough that I wanted to play more of it. At the same time, having also, I've been playing the Switch version of this as well. That's kind of what I meant about, it's not a relaunch, but there's kind of a big fresh wave of new Vampire Survivor stuff. It's getting this co-op mode. It is coming out on Switch. I think they are changing the engine over to Unity. Did we talk about this?
Yes, we did.
PC. I didn't realize apparently it was possible to bring the PC version absolutely to its knees if you got super, super late game, to the point that like the game was running slower than real time.
Oh yeah,
because of so many weapons firing off at one time. So they're fixing that on PC. There's a lot going on there, but
so my Vampire Survivors current status, anytime you get past the 20-minute mark, if you're playing on Steam Deck, it is like 5 frames a second.
Oh my gosh.
It is really something else. And like to the point where I think I mentioned this, I was playing in that airport when I was stuck there for a while. I played for like a couple hours or something. And then I looked up and everything looked like it was running too fast. Like everything
like real life.
Like real life suddenly looked like it was running at like more frames per second than it was supposed to, and it really fucked me up for a few minutes.
So I've been playing the Switch version, which meant starting over again because they don't have cross progression, and I went into this thinking like, man, that's a bummer. I've been playing a lot on the Xbox, like I'm pretty leveled up there. It would be cool to just keep going with that, but like I'm starting to feel like the whole upgrade, like the ramp of starting with nothing and getting all the relics and like remembering all the evolutions and starting to pair those and stuff like that kind of is the game.
Right. Yes, I agree.
So like counting your co-op run the other day where we started with your fresh save, I have played through the first few hours of that game like 4 different times now on different platforms, and like I'm still like addicted to the Switch version just the same. Like I except now it's like an optimization problem of how fast can I get back to where I was, to the point that like my second run, I got to like 29:30 on the library, which was my literal. I did the first level once, went straight to the library, and almost beat the library on my second try. You know, so it's like wow, you really can be better at this game, like significantly than when you don't know anything's going on. Yeah, so
you
cool.
can. I will say there is still a game there once you have unlocked a ton of characters and like unlocked all the stages and everything. Like, because the thing is, there's just so fucking many characters, and like a lot of them are hidden behind like very arcane methods and secrets and things that you have to do. And granted, there's a million guides out there that'll just tell you how to do all of it, but like that still takes time. That's still a progression. And once you have all the bonuses and once you've got a whole lot of characters, there's still achievements to find. There's still other weird, because that's the thing this game has, and the thing that I think has sort of like captivated people more so than the walk around and make slot machine sounds happen thing. That is definitely the, let's just say the chemical reaction a lot of people have to this game, is that the people who, especially the main guy, but the people who made it just have this deep love for like weird old video game bullshit. And I feel like there's so much of that like just packed into this that it's never really particularly boring to just go in and be like, well, I've never beaten this stage with this character before, so why don't I just give it a shot? Yes, I have all the relics, but who cares?
Yeah, I was hanging out in the bone zone this morning trying to beat the bone ball, which I have never beaten. I don't know what that gives you. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I've beaten the bone ball exactly once.
Like, it gets bigger, it absorbs regular enemies, and just gets bigger and bigger.
Yep.
I can't remember all the characters. Like, I can't say I beat the game. I think I beat something a couple of times, but it was one of those games that, to pull out the old cliche, I knew when I was satisfied. Like, I put it down. Like, I had gotten all the secrets that I thought I wanted to get. I had beaten everything that had presented itself. I think I got near whatever the end game was in the end game. I haven't done the DLC, but in the main campaign, to the point where I was pretty consistently able to just beat anything, right? Like, you get to that point where you're like, oh, okay. I liked using that Red Death character, and they seem very powerful, and nothing can stand in my way, which is an awesome feeling. But that's kind of the joke. Is the thing is that like the joke of Vampire Survivors is that you keep beating it, but you never beat it. Yeah. It's like there's 1,000 different ways you can quote unquote beat the game, but then like they add more, or they just keep doing stuff. And the thing is, like, it's just endless. It's endless and also full of endings. I think I just stopped looking for new ways to beat it. Is the thing. And the game gets just super weird, but it's fun. It was fun. Like, I really enjoyed my time with it. But
I still don't think there's a Dracula in there. I don't think there's an actual vampire.
I don't think. I mean, they still advertise the game as no vampires.
You will know development on this game has ceased when you finally find a vampire. That is the end.
I don't know if you guys remember, but that game is so weird that when I don't know what happened in that library level, but when I was able to clip through the bookcases,
I still don't know why you were able to do that.
Really felt like that was just going to unlock a character, because that's how a lot of them feel like they're unlocked. You just clip through a certain weird thing, or you unlock some arcane sequence of events.
Something happened to me on the Switch the other day that, first of all, the Switch version is fine. It's exactly what you think it is. It is Vampire Survivors running on a Nintendo Switch. If you're curious, there's not a ton to say there.
That conjures a specific image, and I'm sure that's exactly what it is.
I mean, it's fucking rules to have. Granted, you can play it on Steam Deck. There are other ways to play that game portably if you had hardware, but like everybody's got a Switch, right? Like having that game just at your fingertips at all times is pretty rad. It's like the perfect put this thing to sleep and come back to it later type game.
It's also on mobile too, right?
Yeah, it's been on mobile for a bit. It does get a little framey. Not bad. Like it's totally playable from what I've seen. Although I haven't gotten late game. Like I said, you have to start fresh. So Like I have been. People call it 6-slotted. That's the Dota term. 6-slotted with your ultimate stuff. Like I've had 6 evolved weapons. Like so basically as heavy graphically as I could get it early game, and it would like. It'll drop some frames when, like, in the last 2-3 minutes of the stage when just everything's pouring in, but it's not terrible by any means. But anyway, the thing that happened on the Switch the other day, like, I've you get the multi-level thing all the time where, like, you level up and then it'll level you up a couple more times or something. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I've never quite understood why that happens. Is that just a luck? Is that just a luck thing? Is that based on your luck stat?
I assume that had to do with luck. I don't know if I've ever actually gone and looked up what it is that causes that.
Or like I always assumed I didn't see a big super gem in there somewhere, or like one of the other like really heavy XP crystals that was maybe stacked in a thing.
Well, so yeah, I've had that happen plenty of times over different versions. What happened here, and it was like the third time I had played a level. It was what's the level? The milk something. You know what I'm talking about?
The factory one, yeah.
Stage 3. I was like 10, 12 minutes into the run. I wasn't even that deep, but I had, I think, pretty much all my items, at least at that point. I leveled up, and then it just kept leveling up and leveling up. Like, it must have done at least 20 times in a row, because it maxed every item in my possession.
That's great.
It just kept leveling and leveling and leveling until literally everything was level 8, and I don't understand what caused that. It was bizarre.
I mean, look, maybe there is a thing that, like, after every level, there's a 1 in whatever chance that you could level again. Maybe you somehow hit the odds that it would be just kept going.
Completely strange.
I've definitely had some long strings of that. I don't know if it was ever quite that long, but like I've definitely had some where it just felt like it kept going and kept going and kept going.
I had a really strange experience in this house playing Breath of the Wild last night. There's a constellation shrine. Does anybody remember that? There's There's like a bunch of constellations off on the wall, and you have to put balls in sockets on the floor.
Yeah.
I had a really strange experience last night where I completely 100% misunderstood the way that they wanted you to solve that.
And you solved it?
But I got it on my first try.
Great.
Like, I completely, because I looked up because I was like, wait, what the fuck just happened? And I looked up the solution, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't even look at the thing you're supposed to look at to solve that. But I still put them all in the right socket in the first, like, has this house been touched by God or something? Should I never leave? Should I start buying lottery tickets from here?
No, only in Breath of the Wild. You're like you're one with the Breath of the Wild.
And Vampire Survivors, I guess. Anyway, that game's still pretty good.
It's very good, a very different game in co-op. I'm also very happy to see that game see continued success. There's something about that game that I want it to succeed. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's something pure about it.
There's something about how janky it looks, but how like actually well thought it is underneath the like kind of not off-putting, but the like you look at that and you're like, oh, that's a ROM hack. Somebody like threw that together out of stolen assets or something. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. Yeah,
it's the
like
salty
much.
bet of fucking like of bullet hell shooters.
Yes, but there's actually an insane amount of depth and care put into the way it's designed and put together.
Yeah, it's not quite clicker. So I was never really into just pure clicker stuff, but it's
more of a sticker. You just kind of lean on the stick.
A moving sticker. Yeah, that's right. An analog sticker, unless you're playing on keyboard. And but there's something just pure video game about it that is just like, okay, just level up, reduce every video game into just get the level up thing in 30 minutes. And be the best thing you can.
No, you know what it is? It's video game pornography. And I don't mean in the way that it is like sexual. I mean in the way that pornography is designed to literally just deliver you the most base pleasures in great quantity. That's what this is. It is the base pleasure of video games delivered to you in great fucking quantity.
In a half hour, right? Like
roughly.
Like in this like little
you level up enough times, that adds another 10 or 15 minutes, but yeah.
Yeah, right, yes. Which is fun. Like, now beat it again. Right?
Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
And just like pornography, you got to beat it again.
You
just got to keep beating it. It never stops.
Give me a couple of minutes. I'm going to beat it again.
Mm-hmm.
I got to give it up for whoever wrote the descriptions on the levels also in that thing. Those are the best written short descriptions of video game levels I have ever read.
I wonder, I assume this game has made profit, but it's still like a $5 game in some places.
I cannot even.
They've sold so many copies, dude.
I could not imagine how much money this game has made.
I don't know.
I guarantee you, just about everyone who has bought that game has bought at least one, if not all of the DLC.
Yeah,
so
think about how many platforms it's on.
You know, like when I think about, it was made by more than one person, but it's primarily one person.
It's primarily one guy from Italy, but there were a couple of other people that contributed to it.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, that probably took a while, sunk costs on the game. Like, I'm not saying the game didn't make a profit, but I am kind of curious on if you were to net out the person's time in development on the game and, you know, the price point on it. It was free, you know, on or still is free on Game Pass, I think. I don't know how those deals work, honestly. I don't know if
but I mean, you get paid for that, obviously. I'm just looking on Steam. It has 200,000 Steam reviews. Which, I mean,
and that's just the people who wanted to put a score in.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean that's that. You know, if you look at kind of or buy into like the correlation between number of reviews and number of sales, it's done extremely well. Like Stardew Valley has 500,000, so it's getting up into that territory.
Good. Like I'm happy for its success. Okay. Would you want in a parallel universe, not a full game, but somehow just a UE5 full-on 3D hyper-realistic version for one level of what this would look like with all these characters trying to come at you?
I think that would make a very good April Fool's Day joke.
Like, how crippling would it be for that engine? That is the new Rubber Ducks demo for your next engine. Show me what Vampire Survivors would look like in 3D in your engine.
That probably exists on YouTube.
Somebody has made it. All right. That is Vampire Survivors, specifically the co-op that has been added. That co-op is coming to all of its releases across the board. You can check it out. Local co-op again.
Not online, but if you have a Parsec or, you know, a Steam Link or one of those things, like you can probably play it somewhat remotely.
Yeah, or like, you know, couch. Get your friends on it. I'm going to play with the kids.
Nobody plays on couches anymore, man. It's done. It's over.
Beanbag co-op.
It's over.
Beanbag, I'm going to sell all these extra sticks I have. They were so expensive.
Sell that couch too, man. We're done here.
Oh, couch was expensive too. Vampire Survivor has been out for 2 years now. Continues to impress. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about some more games right after this. This week's show is brought to you by ExpressVPN, Alex Navarro.
Yes, Benny.
I love going on the internet.
You're the first person to ever say that.
That might be true. Fewer and fewer people love going on the internet, and it's probably because the internet is a rough place.
It's kind of bad out there.
It can be bad out there. Thankfully, there are places like ExpressVPN to give you a couple more tools in the old internet tool belt in terms of watching out for, let's just say, basically the internet. I've used ExpressVPN. I've used ExpressVPN for many, many years. I used to use it a lot when we'd travel, when we go to hotel internet, anywhere there was a shared Wi-Fi spot. I would use it. I would hook up to it. Speeds were pretty good. It's pretty easy to use and install on laptops. I used it on my MacBook a lot, and then I also used it on my, or still continue to use it, on my desktop whenever I feel like I need to be on a VPN. And let me say, you probably know when you want to be on a VPN.
You know when you need to throw an internet smoke bomb out of that utility belt.
You know when the incognito window just ain't doing it for you. So stop letting strangers invade your online privacy. Protect yourself at expressvpn.com/Nextlander. You can use the link at expressvpn.com/Nextlander to get 3 extra months free. That's expressvpn.com/Nextlander to learn more. Thanks, ExpressVPN. And we are back. And we've got some other games to talk about, beginning with Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. A game we played some of on stream last week. I'm going to say this one probably, it's got okay. I like what it's going for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the music quite hit me in a way that a musical probably has to in order for it to be something I want to continue going down. So the songs, I think, just didn't strike me as that interesting in the parts we played. But conceptually, what you're doing is you're playing as a character who has been set up as someone who has the power of song. You know, not to get too deep into the story here, that can influence other characters, make them break out into music and song. And you kind of, the gameplay mechanics come in where you're making choices that are kind of like strong-willed or like empathetic, or, you know, those like basically kind of almost Mass Effect-ish red, blue, green kind of choices. And those insert themselves into the songs. So they'll change some of the lines in the songs and seem to push characters along different paths as you're doing the songs. But again, characters will break out into song, and if you're not into the music for that 2 or 3 minutes, you know, it could be a drag. I didn't hate it, but some of the songs were better than others.
Yeah, it's two things. One, I don't think the setup for what is going on in this game is as interesting as I was maybe hoping. Like the whole, like, you know, flailing band lead singer just, you know, comes across this muse and then suddenly is imbued with her soul and then has to solve a murder mystery around it did not seem that compelling. And the second thing is that, yeah, I think the music is just kind of disappointing. Not that I am the biggest musical fan or expert, but I felt like a lot of it was kind of limp.
Yeah, I like musicals just fine. Like, I like musical theater. I have nothing against it. I agree. I think the songs just weren't catchy and didn't kind of pop. At least, we didn't play a ton of it. We played an hour and a half maybe, or an hour-ish of it.
But that's where you got to get the audience, man. Like, in that first, you know, in those first few songs, like, you got to hook them. If you don't hook them, then, like, they're not going to stick around for it.
Have you played any more since?
I have not. I haven't gone back into it.
I still want to know if that in the Time to Shine line is like that refrain. Just seems like the refrain they're going to keep coming back to, and that song was the closest to sounding like a catchy musical song that I could actually get into. But like, yeah, some people I follow on Twitter have played through the whole thing and actually are kind of echoing a lot of what you're saying here
about the music in it.
About it, yeah, just being a little flat.
But again, I like what they're going for. It's always interesting to see people reaching beyond or bending genre.
Yes, bold idea, I think.
I don't want to. I want to give it credit for that. Like, yeah, trying something. It's also kind of adventure game-ish mixed with visual novel-ish mixed with a musical. So, it's doing interesting things. But yeah, I like the art too. I actually really like the character designs, like not necessarily the portrayal of some characters, but the actual art style I liked in it. You know, some of their choices on depiction were like a little like, okay, this character, I don't know if you're going for goofing or you're just drawing the most. What would you call
how many abs
Troy
can you
Baker's,
give one man?
Yeah. Character.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's just a walking set of abs. That's pretty much what that character is. Like, somewhere between like a weird muscle beach guy and the dude from The Big Lebowski. Like, it's very weird.
Yeah. That's Stray Gods. That is out now. Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. Again, the role-playing part's coming from what seem like to me the choices you make throughout the songs, and also there's like very light, at least we got in ours, kind of search around an environment, kind of by selecting different items in the environment. You have no direct movement control. They'll just kind of give you a list of things you want to search. Interesting. Not top of my list. Moving on to a game that I actually was pleasantly surprised in how it plays. On Garde. I'm not doing it. I'm not going for any accent. Just going for On Garde. I'm gonna just Americanize that one right there. On Garde.
Okay.
Exclamation point. I played only about a half hour of this, just kind of dropped today as the time of this recording, just released. I wasn't sure what to think of this. I was a little worried it was not going to play as well as it showed in some of the trailers. There was a demo during Steam Next Fest, I want to say, that I did not play. It's a $20 game. I should mention, if we're going back to Stray Gods, it's a $30 game. This On Garde's $20 game. It controls pretty well, and it's fun to play. The countering and the combat, which is what this game kind of is set up to be, is fun and as advertised. You will play as this Puss in Boots-esque kind of musketeer-like character, and you know, it is over the top in that way. Again, in the kind of let's call it the Shrek Puss in Boots characterization, where you're
saying they damn Shrekified the thing.
I'm not too familiar with other interpretations of Puss in Boots. I know the Shrek one. This kind of sounds like and plays like that character would.
They're very popular movies, to be fair.
Yeah, I haven't seen that last one, but I've heard very good things.
It was good. It was surprisingly good.
And so you're kind of running around as this master fencer, swords person, and the character has parries, dodges, can kick environmental objects into other characters. There's a break meter. I forget what they call it in the game. It's not a stamina meter. I forget exactly what they call it, but a guard meter basically that you can break to get shots in. It's well done and it's fun. Like when you're mobbed by enemies, it's quick and fast, and you're looking for the right opportunities to manage crowds of people. Not quite old Assassin's Creed. It's more comic-y and looser than that, where you're not really sitting there waiting for the counter to stab somebody in the neck. It's more forgiving. You can kind of spam the counter button if you want, and you'll hit it. But it's fun, and you're fairly mobile in it. I want to play more of it. I don't know how long it is. Again, it's a $20 game, but my worry that it wouldn't control well, that it would be kind of loose, is not. It was not there.
It was for naught.
It was for naught. It is.
Is it just a single player game? I also saw it during Next Fest and thought I should keep my eye on that. But is there a multiplayer component? I was not clear. Beyond madcap sword action, I wasn't quite clear what.
Not that
going for.
Yeah, not that I saw any hint of a multiplayer thing. Again, I only played about a half hour of it so far. I'm just wrapping up what seems like a pretty long tutorializing in the game. So maybe something else opens up, but as far as I can tell, it is single player and kind of not open. At least what I can play. You kind of run along the paths.
Sounds like it might be a little more straightforward than I was expecting. I think when you call your game On Guard, I'm just expecting some kind of complexity or nuance to the sword play beyond the norm of just press button, swing sword. You know, is there any of that in there? That's something that I'm interested in, both like sword combat and hand to hand. Even playing Karateka was an interesting little look at they're high and low, and it feels like there's some more direct tactile control of your melee attacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Some actual technique to high low stuff like that, some 1-to-1 control, anything like that, or is it just much more standard?
So I think this is much more standard, but it kind of much more is going less for the amazing tactical swordsmanship and more spectacle. You're trying to be in fun kind of cinematic encounters here, where you're kicking somebody over, then you're stabbing this person and parrying this person, and not necessarily the kind of stances or stuff. You got a panache meter they can fill up that gets you specials, but it's really more action than tactical. But it's fun. I had a lot of fun with it. The banter is a little not
quite what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'm not digging all of it. It's very silly. It's extremely silly. Again, maybe it's Puss in Boots without maybe some of the edge. I haven't seen the latest movie. Maybe the latest movie is very funny and very edgy, but
not very edgy. It's funny. I wouldn't call it edgy.
As the kids say, as my kids would probably say, it can be a little cringe. Yeah.
I mean, if I know anything about classic myth, the original version of Puss in Boots probably murdered people by the bucket loads.
Probably strung them up with their intestines. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, some Hannibal shit.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Probably just dug claws into throat. I don't know. But On Guard out now, pretty fun. Another game that I've been looking forward to, and actually didn't get a chance to play as much of as I would have liked because I had a late night out with the kids, and then I got home and was like, oh man, it's 10 o'clock. Do I boot up Moving Out 2, which just released yesterday? And I asked my wife, and she said, fine with me. So we played some Moving Out 2 at 10 p.m.
Whoa.
Wow. With the kids.
Living on the edge.
I know. And
in the fucking town, man.
I know. Watch out for us. And they really liked it. It's Moving Out, but more Moving Out. I really loved Moving Out 1. a game I played a lot of, played through multiple times. Moving Out 2 seems to just be more moving out, but that is just fine with me. Maybe polished up a little bit more, a couple more options in there. So we're not too far in it. Like I said, this is not a game I want to play by myself. This is not a game I even want to try playing by myself.
Can you?
I think you can.
Doesn't seem like the way, though.
They have a mode in there where you can control 2 characters with 1 controller.
Okay.
I don't know if that is the only way to play it by yourself. You can also put options on, kind of like the first one, to make objects that require 2 people only require 1 person. So you can do that. But that's not why I'm coming to Moving Out. I'm not coming to... I want the fun stuff of trying to throw a couch with somebody else into the back of a truck. I really like Moving Out. It's such a fun game to play with the kids, mostly because it felt like at the time when I played it with my daughter, she did not want to, when this came out, when Moving Out 1 came out a while ago.
Yeah, it's been some years.
She was younger, and she mostly wanted to stay by the truck and just kind of put the things that we would put there by the truck, and she was able to do that. So it allowed for situations where she can still be involved but not have to have the stress of a high-stress environment, where my son and I were like, yeah, man, we're min-maxing this. We got to go get all these things and, like, go get this and that. But now she is way more into, like, yes, we should go get the couch first and move all this stuff around. She's a little older and understands the joy of video games.
She's old enough now to understand that you need to move the couch.
That she's old enough to understand, look, if you're not stressing out, why are you even playing?
Yeah.
If you're not yelling
That's
at your
the
teammates.
fun.
That's the fun.
You like fun, don't you? Move the fucking couch.
So that game is super fun, and it has online co-op. So we did not try that. Obviously, we're doing local co-op, but the first one did not. This one does. So I'm sure we will check this out soon, maybe during the grab bag, get you guys in on there. It's on everything, and it has crossplay, so which is also very good. More games coming out with online co-op and crossplay. This is a good future. I like this.
Yes. I have Texas Chainsaw Massacre in my possession. Fired it up. It's not out yet. We have not had a chance to try it, so you can't really... It's multiplayer only, so when it's not out yet, there's only so much you can do, but... That also is crossplay. It just feels like it's just expected. We're here. Yeah. We made it. It's just expected now.
Especially like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is going to be on Game Pass. So that's also crossplay with that is awesome because you can feel like no matter what platform I have, somebody's probably playing it because it's on Game Pass.
Even in the $20, $30 tier, it feels like we're finally there where just like almost everything has got crossplay at this point. I shouldn't say everything, but you know what I mean.
And crossplay without having to make which again, cross progression, different thing, but crossplay where you don't have to make a separate account to have your crossplay, like where their matchmaking is not necessarily tied into you making, I don't know who's making Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but the developer or publisher's account system.
Yeah, I guess the way to look at it is like I think it almost feels more notable now when a game lacks crossplay than when it has it, which is where you want to be.
Yes, it can be very frustrating. I'm looking at you, Warhammer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that thing ever got cross progression?
I don't know. Darktide?
Yeah, Darktide.
Talking about Darktide? I have not checked back in on Darktide in a while.
I haven't checked in. I think it might have had cross play, but I don't know if it had cross progression, which is what stopped me from moving over at the time. Cross progression, again, different thing than cross play.
Yes.
And that I feel like cross progression usually means you are signing up for some separate account somewhere.
Oh, as of like 6 weeks ago, it does finally have crossplay between Steam and Microsoft Store.
Okay. And I assume that would mean, is the console version?
I don't think the Xbox version is out yet, still.
Oh boy, I bet some people are real mad about that.
I could be wrong, but I have not seen anything about it coming out yet.
Okay.
It might be.
Well, it's a game for another time. I hope stuff is going okay over there. Moving Out 2 though, $30, fun game. Glad to see it. Gonna be playing more of that, I am sure. That game gets into weird, and at least Moving Out 1 got into weird and interesting puzzle style stuff. I'm sure Moving Out 2 will get there as well. Finally here, Alex, you and I and Abby played some Baldur's Gate 3.
Indeed.
I've been playing a ton of Baldur's Gate 3 on my own. We got to play some co-op. What did you think of your experience in the now released Baldur's Gate 3 with the co-op?
I think this is kind of how I want to play it.
With other people?
Yeah, because, I mean, look, the D&D role-playing stuff, to me, has never been that interesting as a solo experience. Like, you know, the whole point of tabletop gaming, at least in my mind, is you're there with people, you're interacting with them, you're building a game on that kind of stuff. And just doing the hardcore role-playing by myself, I think, is the thing that has caused me to bounce off of games like this in the past, is the idea of... I know there are some people that, like, do... all they want is fucking prison-like solitude playing these kinds of games, and I totally get that. But there's just something about, even when you're not, like, having to talk through and play, like, a real role-playing tabletop experience, there's just something about this kind of thing when you are with people that are playing different classes, playing different character types. I don't know. Like, to me, it was more appealing, and I was having more fun with it.
It's pretty fun, and I'm glad the game is flexible enough where the three of us rolled our own characters, and we didn't have to have the story character, the origin characters in our party. We had one that you were controlling,
Mm-hmm.
and
Which one?
we had Shadowheart because Shadowheart blesses gives the extra 1d4 to the rolls. Got to have Shadowheart in that party.
Yeah, she's good people.
Cleric, healer can get in there, but it was fun. It was like, it's fun also because it's weird stuff happens when you have other players in your game doing stuff in the background while you're doing a thing, and in the wrong spot or the right spot while you're doing a thing, like
Real quick, remind me, do the joiners bring story characters, or characters from their single player game, or do they make joinable, like, multiplayer only characters? Is that how
So it's a good question, and it's maybe not as easy a thing to answer. The short answer is no. You make, in a multiplayer session, from what I can gather, you make a character to bring into somebody else's game.
Okay.
Yes.
Or you can take
crossover.
over. No, you're not bringing anything back to your game. And from what I can tell, in that multiplayer game, if I were to boot that up again, I haven't tried this, but like Alex's character would still be there. Just I wouldn't be able to play it. It would just be stuck in that party as kind of a knocked out character, dead character.
Oh, yeah. like showing up in the UI, not bodily, like running around with you, right?
No, I haven't done it, but from what I could tell, is like that character's in that game kind of forever.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's still the case. It seemed to be the case at least a week and a half ago when I was looking into it. So when you start a multiplayer session, it seems like that's a multiplayer session come hell or high water. You can have people come and join existing characters you have, it seems like. So if I want you, Brad, if you wanted to jump in to my game, you could just take control of existing characters, but you wouldn't have your own character.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
But so you couldn't even start a multiplayer game with your original campaign save? Like that's a single player game forever?
I could have people join to play existing characters.
Oh, you can't. Oh, yes. Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
But at this point, I don't know if you could jump into my game with a rolling your own character. I'm not sure about that. I'm not 100% sure. So like if my 45-hour save, you guys could jump in and take over the origin characters and be able to control them and then bop out, and then I would be back to normal. But I couldn't bring Alex's character pre-made into anything I have unless I started, and we all started new characters. I think. I'm sorry, it might be a little confusing, but I think it is actually a little.
It's all a little confusing, but they're trying to juggle a lot here.
Yeah. So.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it just wound up in a situation where, we had to start this. We got together a little bit early before the stream because you actually can't make those characters unless you're joined in the game. So like I was like, hey, I'm starting up the server, make your characters. Let's kind of get through this stuff. What were you going to say, Brad?
It's just like talking to the stuff you were talking about last week about being able to like peel somebody off and have them like totally leave a conversation and go off and do some other shit that could throw a wrench into the works. Like having actual other human beings in there with agency and their own characters able to do that, where it's not just one person splitting characters up to do stuff, but like one of your co-op friends might go off and do something without telling you.
Yep.
And with all of the systemic weird stuff that can happen in that game, seems like a lot of potential for hijinks.
There were situations where, so they do a pretty good job of letting you know when another player character is in a conversation with someone, and you could just warp into that conversation. So over there on their portrait, there'll be like a little ear icon, and you can just click on that, and it'll take you to eavesdrop on that conversation. which is great. But there were situations where Abby would be in a conversation and Alex would be in a conversation, and I'm like, well, okay, which one am I going to listen in on? And
That's wild.
I'm just freely moving around the map at that point because they're in different spots talking to different people. And I can interact. I could loot people. They could put them in different positions. I could pickpocket the person they're talking to. It's weird and fun and much more jazzy, than kind of what was going on in my personal save, where you can do that on your own because you can switch to another character solo and move them around the map. But yes, having other characters have their own agency is definitely kind of weird. And you split up, man.
I don't know why the idea of multiple characters having different conversations with different NPCs at the same time has like broken my brain, but like that just seems so antithetical to the way most co-op is designed, where there's the one golden path through the story, and everybody's just going to watch that play out as probably the host triggers it.
It was weird.
Like just the idea that everybody can go off and like. Does that mark those conversations as had for the host then? I guess so.
Oh, yeah. Well...
Like, in fact, it seems like the host is not really privileged in the situation at all, other than being the one running the game, right? Like,
so the way the game Baldur's Gate 3 kind of works is sometimes, depending on the conversation, sometimes the character will kind of reset for you when you talk to them. So, if your character went through a conversation tree with a certain character, my character could then run that whole conversation tree again as my character. It depends. If you did something to really do something horrible in that conversation, that character might not be available for me to talk to. But oftentimes, you can do your own checks and just do it again.
I cannot get the image out of my head of like... you or whoever, somebody else in the game, having like some critical story conversation with somebody that needs to play out, and just like running up to that NPC and shoving them in a pit.
That's what when Dave and I were playing, that is I would be in a conversation and Dave would just run up behind the person with an axe and just put it in the back of their head. And like that NPC was just fighting us.
Just all the stuff I keep seeing, all the potential for like things that are flammable and setting things on fire and pushing important story characters over a bottomless cliff and stuff. Like, it just seems like so much ridiculous stuff could happen.
Man, okay. So the multiplayer stuff is fun and very awesome and different. I want to play more of that. It's and also like, we had some fun characters, and Abby made her character Doug, which was a very fun character to have around. It was just a normal dude stuck in this world, just looked like a dad running around. D&D.
You looked like a high school principal.
Yeah. And that was very fun. And, and trying to role play as your character is also fun. I was playing as a paladin, which in D&D rules, you take an oath to do whatever, and then you can break your oath, and the game is pretty strict about breaking your oath. So my oath to protect the weak and do whatever was immediately broken, but not because I thought I broke it, because the game thought I broke it. So I was a little like, come on. I was doing the thing the paladin would do and just having a very eager sword to take down anybody I thought was like basically stealing a candy bar, right? Like, you die by the sword, you're a criminal. And the game was like, you are a monster. And I was like, am I? Or am I just the righteous hand of justice? And so...
no, you're the monster.
The monster. So you get somebody at your camp. We didn't kind of go through this on the stream, but immediately when we stopped the stream, I noticed there was a person in my camp you talked to about breaking her oath and the whole path back to redemption and stuff like that. But that being said, on the single player side, I have continued playing a ton of that game, and let me tell you that. And you talked about shoving people off a cliff. You got to watch out with that game. Those computer characters are so shove happy. Oh my gosh! If you're just get away from anything where they can shove you off a cliff. I have lost so many damn characters off the side of a cliff where I am pissed.
It's a pretty surefire way to kill somebody.
Oh my gosh. They have just gone flying. I'm like, God damn it. And then you have to burn a scroll of resurrection or just cast a spell. So they will, thank goodness, put a little glowy soul orb back on a platform for where that person used to be after they've been shoved off a cliff. So you can bring them back to life if you have the means. But man, talk about taking somebody out of a fight. Like, you gotta watch out.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta watch out. And you gotta
watch out.
That sounds fun.
Oh.
Like all that chaos I was talking about, like that's that's one thing when it's all temporary and you're just going to hit like restart or whatever, but like the game has burdened itself with adapting to all that stuff, right? Like that's the challenge they took on in designing this game was like, we got to let people do whatever they want and try to find a way to make it work and the story to continue, right? Like,
I feel like I've broken the seams on this thing quite a few times, but it's still fun.
Okay.
Like, there is this part, again, I don't want to spoil anything, there's this part where I was able to sneak my rogue through the entire dungeon that I think I was supposed to be fighting through, get to the back door, open the back door, let most of my entire party in to save the prisoner who was there. Prisoner wasn't there because I hadn't initiated the story beats for the game, but thematically and narratively, I realized after initiating the story beats that the prisoner shouldn't be there because but I had my whole party basically set up in where this person was going to appear, and then sent another character back out to trigger the story beat, and the character then sent the prisoner to where they were supposed to be. I got them out, and then fought the boss without having to have that character in danger. And of course, tried to immediately position my characters for when they appeared. Of course, push them off ledges.
Of course.
Basically semicircle around where the character was going to come through a door and appear. And basically when they appeared, had every character just try to shove that character off the cliff.
Classic Vinny.
They couldn't do it. They weren't strong enough to do it. But it did trivialize a little bit of that fight in a way, because I had snuck my rogue through to basically open the door into their hideout from the back, which felt pretty cool, like was kind of a cool thing to do. I'm also quick saving my way through the hell in that game, but stuff goes left when it should have gone right so many times. Oh my gosh.
A little bit I played, I was like, yeah, no fucking way am I holding myself to some arbitrary standard here.
Oh, there is look, you've invested over dozens of hours in a thing and something's going to suddenly go real rotten real quick in a way that you're like, oh, I did not expect that to happen. I have no shame in just quick loading a thing. I try not to save scum fights too much because they're generally kind of fun, even though they can be a little long sometimes. So I won't I got a crit save. I got another crit save. Generally won't do that. There was one fight I did kind of do that because I was way under leveled for it and shouldn't have been able to beat that fight. It was against a bunch of phase spiders, if anybody knows that fight. But I'm really enjoying it. I liked all the characters so far. They seem to have interesting Mass Effect 2-ish style stories where it's not quite clear what the right move is going to be down the line for this character. Like, oh, maybe doing your quest the way that makes you happy is going to be really bad for everyone, which is interesting. So I'm curious to see where that stuff plays out. I've got a quest log that's got to have at least 50 things on it that I'm not sure I'm going to get to in this playthrough. I did look up some points of no return. They signpost it and they do say, hey, make sure you wrapped up everything. You're about to move into this other act. And I looked it up, and where I'm now in the beginning or near the beginning of Act 2, and I looked it up, and it did not seem to cut off as many quests as I thought it might. So I wish it were. I don't know how they make it more clear, but I wish I knew without having to go look up, like, what am I going to lock myself out of if I do this? Oh, I'm A-okay to go do this. And in looking that up, they were like, oh, the next one, you need to make sure you're good, because that one will lock you out of a bunch of stuff. That stuff in games is always hard for me as someone who like very completionist, like, because there are some quests that are like, I don't think I have the ability to finish this quest yet. Did I miss something or not? I'm exactly the same way, and I hate it about myself. It kind of like, I don't want to say it ruins my experience, but it definitely detracts sometimes when I'm constantly second guessing, like, where do they put the trigger? Which of these two doors is the story door? If I walk through the wrong one, are they not going to let me come back? Like, it leads to so much hand wringing that I don't know. Or especially, in certain quests, sometimes it's the next step is very ambiguous, and it'll be like, the item you were looking for wasn't here. The trail's gone cold. Where could it be? And be like, shit. Is it? If I go through this door, do I end that quest, or is the answer to that question through this door? That stuff to me.
That's where you would like some clarity.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I don't necessarily need the like reset Windows list of all the apps that got uninstalled style thing. You know what I mean? I'm like, here are all the quests that are going to end if you go through this door. I don't know what the answer is, but and maybe the answer is just go hope somebody put that up in a guide somewhere, which they have, which is great. So many weird things happening in that game where it's not sewn up airtight, but I'm okay with a lot of it. Feeling a little dangly, it's I'm not gonna say broken in some parts, but it's messy in some parts. It's not perfect. But
it's a very expansive game. And look, we give expansive games like, let's say, the Bethesda-style expansive games plenty of shit for the number of bugs that they have. But I also feel like maybe the thing with this one is that while there are bugs and there are problems, it does not feel like I have seen too many people describe ruinous situations that they have run into in that game.
Yeah, let's just say I'm more impressed, big majority more impressed than I am frustrated by some of the mechanics in it. Like, I'm more impressed that you're able to do these things than I am by the things that are like, oh, come on. Like, this sequence broke a thing, or, this character got bugged, or this character shouldn't be responding the way they're responding, which happens occasionally. Because there's a lot to account for in that game. Multiplayer fun, single player fun, Baldur's Gate 3, having a lot of fun with it. I don't know how many hours this game is going to take me. Like I said, I'm 40 plus in. I just finished up Act 1, now into Act 2. Exciting thing I have heard from people I trust is that Act 2, for a lot of what they've said, was even more interesting for them. So, curious to keep going.
Yeah, I'm excited to play this when I'm back near a PC.
I hope by the time you get back, you might be near a PlayStation also.
Yeah.
That game, I think it was early September. When is it coming?
It's right around Starfield. That's the other thing, is we're going to be right up on Starfield by the time I get back.
Let's just see how Starfield is handling its. That's another very expansive game. But look, Starfield is a tight version of what they've been after for the last 15 years. That's going to be very impressive.
Their least buggy game ever. They said it themselves. I guess we'll find out soon. I keep wondering with Baldur's Gate 3, like, again, I don't think I'm anywhere near finishing it. Like, and I know they're working hard over at Larian to stay on top of all these things. It's one of those games I immediately want to see what they have in store next, like DLC wise or additional story pack wise, new character. There's a lot of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition that's not in that game, and I'm wondering if they are planning on rolling that into it or what they're going to do. The level cap in this is 12, where the level cap in D&D is 20. I'm not a huge D&D person, but that sure does sound like leaving themselves some room to do future stuff.
Maybe, but once you're over 12, things start to get a little wacky. I mean, I've never had a campaign go over 12, if that tells you anything, because again, having real tabletop campaigns start from 1 and go to 12 can be tricky. I know some people start later. It's a lot of time. But your powers start to get pretty intense. I forget what the tier stuff is. There's a fun tier thing they have of like what your status in the world would be at certain levels. Local hero, regional heroes, and like once you start getting into like 12, you're like, world heroes, and then like, as you progress, you're like interdimensional planar hero, like
interdimensional planetary.
Yes, planetary. Yes. So I don't know. Maybe that's just a difficult thing to kind of spec out once you're in those nearing god tier levels. But maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Who am I to say? I'm not making the game.
Exciting times for fans of role-playing.
Yes. You
might say they should rejoice.
Fans of role-playing rejoice. You got to rejoice somewhere, because again, Wizards of the Coast and that whole thing seems to just be, again, not to steal a phrase too often, stepping on rakes constantly and putting their foot in it. So if you're looking for some fun D&D, looks like Larian's got your number here right now. Is that it for the games?
I think that's it for the games right now. Not that that's a small number of games.
No, that's plenty of games.
Before we go, big shout out to the new Xbox dashboard, which like you're like, oh, Xbox dashboard, that sounds like an interesting topic, but I just pulled the new one. I don't know if you guys did.
No,
I did get it. I think it launched last week, right?
Yeah, I think it was a staggered release. I just got it this morning. Or at least I'm traveling with this S that just managed to update itself. Anyway, I think they finally made the homepage of the Xbox dashboard good. I think they finally did it. I have never really truly liked the homepage of the Xbox dashboard since the 1 came out.
Yeah.
There are just straight up 9 recently played games there now.
Okay.
Like just 9, like it's been as low as like 4 or 5 in the past, hasn't it?
Yes.
And like ads shoved in there, and like it's just straight up. Here are a bunch of the games you've been playing lately. The other thing is it's super snappy. Like
it's so much better, dude.
The
my
cursor,
God.
Just the straight up cursor, basic cursor movement around the homepage is so much more responsive than it has ever been before. I was like, oh my God, I love whoever made this. And they put shortcuts to all the like basic stuff you would want right at the top of the screen, like literally one up press on the D-pad away. It's just an evolution. It is just a better version of what's been there, but it is way better.
I'm looking at pictures of it now. I haven't seen it in person yet. It does look like it's almost an upside down PlayStation UI where instead of having the things on the icons on the top row or your games on the top row, it's on the bottom, and the shortcut stuff is
dissimilar. Yes,
on the bottom, but
very functional, very quick. I'm pleased.
It was like a learning curve with the Xbox dashboard, but I got used to it. Never to the point though where if there's something I didn't use frequently enough, I didn't spend 45 seconds to a minute and a half going through do I have to press the home key and then go look in that? Is it in that menu? How do I get to it? Like sometimes you just want to get to what's on Game Pass very quickly, and it was always, or not always, sometimes a little too long. Good. I like, UI updates are fun.
Big difference, man. And as someone who has definitely struggled with the Xbox interface because of the sheer number of files I have on my Xbox, it definitely feels like an improvement.
You should just buy a dedicated Xbox for Rock Band.
I don't need 2 Xboxes, man. That's just too many Xboxes.
I bet an S runs Rock Band just fine.
Look, you're one generation away from Rock Band not working with the next thing, possibly. I don't know if Microsoft's going to bring Rock Band support to their next thing. So maybe this will be your dedicated Rock Band Xbox.
Well, the one thing I'll give them is that at least on the software end of things, they seem pretty committed to things from the previous generation working on the next. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind of USB protocols they're going to be fucking working with next time and what checks they're going to suddenly decide, nah, we're not doing that anymore. That would be a real bummer.
If there is another hardware console, like it might just be...
They're going to do another one.
Streamer games.
We're not there yet.
But we still got like 4 years, so...
Maybe Netflix has something to say about it?
Oh?
Oh?
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the news. Be right back. This week's show is brought to you by Bespoke Post. Alex Navarro, I love packages.
I mean, I get them all the time. It's always an exciting time when a box arrives at your door.
It is always an exciting time. Sometimes I open that box and it's from Bespoke Post, and inside that box, like this week, is a knife. It's a thing I can use when I need to cut things. I think this one, I've gotten more than a few knives from Bespoke Post.
Are you trying to say that when you get a knife, the thing you need to do with a knife is knife?
I might have gotten around to said that in a shorter way. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
This one was specifically a fishing knife, which means it's got all the things you need to fillet a fish, let's say, or field dress a fish. Bespoke Post puts together a box of awesome, and the things inside that box range from whiskey glasses, which I've gotten. I've gotten incense things that I still have and use in my bathroom, and sometimes, occasionally, a knife that'll go inside a kit that is themed, because, Alex Navarro, you take a quiz at boxofawesome.com. Your answers will help them pick the right box of awesome for you. They release new boxes every month across a ton of different categories, and each box is valued at around $70, but you're only going to pay a fraction of that price. This is one of my favorite parts, Alex. With each box of awesome, you're supporting small businesses. 90% of everything that comes in your box of awesome is from a small, up-and-coming brand. It's free to sign up, and you can skip a month or cancel at any time. To get 20% off your first monthly box, sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code Nextlander at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com, code Nextlander for 20% off your first box. Boxofawesome.com, code Nextlander. Thanks, Bespoke Post. All right, we are back, and it is time for the news. Brad Shoemaker, you have gone through the news, plucked out a few stories here to talk about. Where do you want to start?
Embracer Group, have you heard of them?
I have heard over and over about the Embracer Group.
Somehow, the more I hear about them, the less I understand about them.
Getting bigger and bigger, but sometimes not getting bigger.
I was trying to come up with some someone has finally resisted the embrace, but that doesn't even make sense here because this is more like Embracer wanted to be embraced by someone who was like, nah.
The snuggle has been rejected.
Saying shun the embrace.
Finally, the Embracer has become the embraced, or not. That's not going to work for an episode title. God damn it. Some weeks ago when we talked about that $2 billion deal that Embracer admitted had fallen through and had put them in very dire straits, we were, or at least I was rabid to know who that was. I was dying to find out who was going to give Embracer $2 billion and then decided not to. It feels so quaint that we were thinking Microsoft's big enough for that. Amazon, right. They're in games. They have a shitload of money, right?
It's Ubi making a play.
It's got to be somebody. It's one of a very few companies that is serious about games and has enough money to throw around like that. It was Saudi Arabia.
Mohammed bin Salman.
Also a ton of money throwing around into basically everything they can get their hands on. Maybe not into human rights, but into golf, into video games. It's
into fake cities,
professional wrestling. It's
that what is the Savvy? But what is the colloquial name of that fund? The public investment fund is the thing they are using to try to diversify their economy. Savvy Games, though, if you had just said it was Savvy Games, I'd be like, who the hell is this? That? What? Yeah. That's a very savvy name, frankly.
Yes. Yep.
If you want to very effectively camouflage where this money is coming from, unless people look into it.
It's so much money. It's near $40 billion they're looking to dump into this kind of stuff. Yeah, I should give credit. This was Stephen Totillo at Axios broke this story. He has talked to 4 different sources who all say the same thing. It sounds like, judging by his wording in the story, this was an investment in development and publishing. This wasn't them buying a huge chunk of Embracer for $2 billion or anything like that. It was that's the way the wording sounds to me, that it was specifically going to be funding of video games getting produced on an individual basis. And so that money all vanished overnight, literally. Which caused seemingly alarm bells to go off at Embracer and their stuff. They've started laying people off, shuttered a studio, canceled projects. They made it very clear that hey, we are in a compromised position now that this money no longer exists. And now we know who that was. And it's probably worth noting that about a year ago, Embracer had, I shouldn't say had shares bought, but sold shares to this group for about $1 billion. In what was an equity buy of Embracer, and at the time, as Axios, I went to another Axios story which reminded me of this. Put up a 1,200 word defense of, hey, look, we're taking $1 billion from this group. We know there are problems with this group, but it's $1 billion. Kind of claim.
Yeah, it's a little rich considering that the whole thing with Embracer has been that every time someone takes the money from them, it's always where's that money coming from? What's going on there? And I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to laugh at this because it's not fucking cool what's happening here, but it is a little rich that this company that has been going around throwing money at everything got screwed by another entity that is well known for going around and throwing their money at everything in sometimes somewhat clandestine ways, and they got bit by that. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's just it's dark money on top of dark money. I don't like any of it. I don't like where any of this is or what this implies about where things are headed. Was that the strategy? Burn all of our capital acquiring IP and then try to rely on outside investment to actually get the games made with the IP that we spent all our money on? I don't know. Because they own a lot of IP now.
They own a lot of stuff. And, that Saudi fund also has been, it's not just Embracer. They have sunk money into Activision, Nintendo.
Like it's
they
like every week looking at the news, it's like, do we really need to talk about another week of the PIF buying another 5% of Nintendo?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Probably not. It's literally every week.
And I think, Brad, you mentioned maybe before we came into this that that makes more sense with this coming out, why it wasn't initially clear who is behind this deal. Like, it's not a great PR look, especially for a company that just a year ago put up a statement about, tiptoeing around why they took an investment from the Saudi group.
Yeah. Anyway,
so no details about why this deal blew up. There's nothing. They said specifically in the story, whatever sources they were talking to did not know what had happened. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that probably actually no one at Embracer actually knows why this fell apart. It just did.
It did seem to happen very abruptly.
Somebody knows.
Somebody knows.
Somebody knows. Hey, look, maybe it fell apart for the right reasons. Maybe somebody was like, no, man, we're not gonna. Oh, you're not gonna? No. But then we're walking away. I mean, they walked away.
Not gonna what?
Take the money? I don't know.
They were gonna take the money.
It sounded like they were gonna take the money. I don't know.
They were good. They were super going to take that money.
It sounds like from the results of the fallout of them not getting the money, it seems like everybody was ready for them to take the money.
Kind of feels like they didn't have another plan in place if they didn't take the money.
I don't think you're wrong. All right. Thanks, Axios, for that story. Brad, what's next?
Netflix, perhaps you've heard of them.
Yeah, here and there.
Is going to start trialing the streaming of video games over the internet.
Impossible.
The future is now. Netflix is going to just start straight up stream. It's a beta. I believe it's just a very limited test in Canada and UK at the moment. But it seems like something that they are ultimately going to position on everything that can play Netflix, probably, from the sound of this. There are 2 games in this test. One of them is Oxenfree.
The first one.
The first Oxenfree. They own Night School, the developer now, as we've talked about. The other one is called Molehue's Mining Adventure, which I couldn't find any information about whatsoever. So that this beta, this blog post about this beta might be the first time this game has been announced. I don't know. A gem mining arcade game, they say.
Sure. Okay. That paints a picture.
To play our games on TV, we're introducing a controller that we already have in our hands most of the day, our phones.
Hooray.
Oh, yeah.
Members on PCs and Macs can play on Netflix.com with a keyboard and mouse. They have a little shot here of their on-phone controller scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It looks weirdly like a GameCube layout.
I was going to say that. Yes, it does.
With the big fat green A button and the smaller other buttons clustered around it.
Yep.
Did whoever mocked this up just have a real love of the GameCube and want to, I don't know, weird.
Like, no, not necessarily. Maybe they're doing something, but no shoulder buttons or other triggers or something like that on this mock-up here. From what we can see, it's just a flat screen.
Yes. Is games on TV the branding they're using for this?
God, I hope not.
No, never mind. I misread part of their statement or their release here. I have to cop my ignorance. I thought this was already happening. I thought you could boot up the Netflix app and load up Oxenfree from LG OS already. No, this is definitely new.
Okay.
They've had mobile apps like I've complained about Into the Breach not being for sale many times, and some other similar. But those are still downloads. You're still downloading the app like you would traditionally. You just have to sign into a Netflix account to play it.
Okay.
This is just straight up. And again, this is a beta, but presumably, if and when this rolls out wide, anywhere you sign into Netflix, theoretically, you will be able to play whatever streaming games they have on offer, which really seems like it was the end game of them buying studios in the first place.
Yeah, again, I really thought if I wanted to, I could just play it on my TV already if I could sync a thing up, but I'm just thinking ahead. I'm just 2 steps ahead of Netflix.
Boy, do I bet they extra want to prioritize this sort of thing now that these strikes have effectively ended their traditional content pipeline.
It's almost
It's a whole new vertical.
kind of wish they were floating a trial of paying residuals instead.
What?
It's a very small trial.
Yeah.
It's a,
If you want to find another creative industry that is not unionized in any way, it's video games.
Well, it's starting to.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm point being, I'm sure there's all kind of panic right now about like, oh, we've got to, well, even before the strike stuff, like they obviously need as many reasons to keep people subscribed as possible, and they seem to have identified video games as a potentially viable one of those.
I got a dumb question for the two of you, because I feel like you might have a sense of this and I have zero. Has Netflix ever come out and figured out if they are profitable as a company or not? Or are they still one of those, like, nobody knows?
What does profitable even mean?
Make a profit.
Make more
they're
money
gigantic.
Than they spend. They are gigantic. They have to be. Well, they've been public long enough that they would have to be, right?
I don't know.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't know.
I mean, like you saying they're accountable to shareholders at that point?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's just a guess.
It is in fact profitable.
Okay. And there was like a point there where they were spending a ton on all those prestige TV shows, and I feel like there was question there, but again, I don't keep track of this stuff. Another question for the two of you, but possibly maybe you do not know the answer. They list where this is coming to, and Amazon Fire Streaming, Chromecast, the whole thing. What is Walmart ONN?
I don't know. I had never heard of that before.
Walmart have a thing?
Possibly.
If it does, I don't want to know about it.
Oh, it looks like a line of. Well, is that a? Okay, it looks like it on. I think looking at this box treatment is probably how it's pronounced.
Okay.
I don't. It's all lowercase on this box, and it's all uppercase in this Netflix blog. So I'm not sure, but like the box says like watch on ONN.
Is it a service?
No, it's like a little box. It looks like.
Okay, like what do they call those?
It may also be a line of TVs. It looks like that have this built in. Like I'm gathering, it's probably Roku-esque.
Okay,
it looks like a Roku-esque platform.
OTT.
I don't know.
Maybe over the top.
Maybe over. So yeah, actually, that list of devices here. Our initial games on TV will operate on select devices from our initial partners, including, and they rattle off like Amazon, Google, LG, Nvidia, Roku, Samsung, Walmart. No Apple in there.
Listen, nobody wants to fuck with Apple at this point.
Well, Apple's got Apple Arcade, which is on their boxes. So I wonder if Netflix getting their game stuff onto Apple devices is going to be an uphill battle, or just maybe never happen, because Apple is just going to be like, nah. It's possible.
Yeah, or I don't know. Yes, maybe there's Apple controls its ecosystem, as we all know. I'm sorry. Now I'm looking at this ONN or on collection. I have not been apparently, if it wasn't clear, I guess I haven't been in a Walmart in a while.
Yeah, same.
At least a few years here. I don't think I knew they had their. Looks like you're right. It's their own in-house brand.
The closest Walmart to me is like 2 hours or something, hour and a half.
More of a Target guy,
Yeah.
For my big boxes.
I don't think a controller on a phone while you're looking at a screen that is not the phone is maybe the best choice, but we'll see. I mean, for something like Oxenfree, it's not like it's a reflex game, although that other game is arcadey, so seems like it might be. But look, not having tactile buttons when you also can't look at the controller while you're playing the game seems like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Gosh, Alex, I don't know if we have the near similar LGs, which is
we have, I think, almost the exact same one, if not the same year.
Do you know if you can hook up a Bluetooth controller to it? I've never tried.
I have never tried either.
Okay. Because that seems more like the way to go for if you're going to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, surely if this goes into wide release, well, I mean, I guess it has to, because this seems like an end game for them. Like, when it goes into wide release, surely they'll support Bluetooth controllers then. It sounds like this beta does not, though.
Okay, but here's the bigger question. If I hook up a Chromecast and put this on there, can I use my Stadia controller?
Fair You really want to find out?
I'm gonna say no, you cannot, and that thing will remain in a museum somewhere. Oh, Stadia. Also, cowards, Netflix, make your own controller. I have to add more controllers to.
Hang on, did they?
It said in the thing. It said they're being tongue in cheek about the controller we all have in our hand, right? The
But I could have sworn I saw something somewhere about somebody of a Netflix-like nature making a controller.
Oh, please!
Who am I? I must be thinking about somebody totally different.
I love new controllers. It's like some of my favorite hardware releases. Because, like, how do you make it different? Like, we have basically the controller at this point.
Oh. Apparently, they launched the app for the controller on the App Store, like, last week.
Oh, wait, Apple has a controller?
No. Netflix put out the Netflix game controller app.
Oh, I see.
On the App Store. Like
to
that,
connect.
Like that controller they're showing in this blog post, you can go download that now. Go download your controller.
Yeah.
Everybody just go download a new controller.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't download a controller.
That's where everything's at. Download your game, download your controller.
Sorry, Netflix, I will not.
You don't own my controller. I own my controller. You need to sign this EULA for this controller. All right. Well, I guess where you said Canada and the UK, right?
This is a very limited test, but I mean, another company with a ton of money that seemingly wants to buy up some video game stuff. If this gets serious for them, do they go on a buying spree?
I don't know.
Of bringing content producers in-house to pump this thing full of stuff?
Amazon making games, Netflix making games. Is Hulu making games yet?
No.
Okay. Hulu's still out there just being scrappy, huh?
Hulu knows what it's good at.
Let's see. Time Warner Brothers making games. I'm trying to think who are the big.
Well, yeah, no, Warner Brothers makes games.
Yeah, Warner Brothers makes games.
They make that Mortal Kombat.
That's yeah. But Warner Brothers, can I get Mortal Kombat on Max, whatever they call it now? What is HBO Max called?
I don't think they even know what they're putting on Max anymore.
You're saying Mortal Kombat the game might be on there?
For all anyone fucking knows, yeah. Who can say?
Brad, is Xbox making games?
No.
Okay, good.
They're getting out of the business, it turns out.
Yeah.
Big scoop here. No, but they are introducing a new strike system to their Xbox Live moderation, which does anybody know how common this is elsewhere? Because this seems pretty smart to me.
I don't know. I don't know. Look. Have any of you ever been reported for a thing on a social?
I don't know.
Or on a? You don't know? I feel like you would.
Know.
Have you ever gotten a notification that you've been reported?
I mean, no, definitely not. But
I don't think so.
I don't know if. I mean, it depends on the service. Would they contact you unless they actually decided to enforce, though?
I assume they would only contact you if they decided to enforce, but maybe they would if they're investigating it. So they used to have the star rating, right? Like where you could rate the online activities and you could see what people were rated, right? Like Xbox had.
Yes.
Brad, this is actually kind of interesting once you run down some of the details.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the fact that they liken this system in this blog post to driver's licenses in numerous countries is probably telling that it's maybe not that common in like online internet moderation.
You're saying I shouldn't drink and then go online and play some Halo?
Yeah, look at what you do on your own time. Just don't drive the Warthog. You'll be fine.
Okay, good.
Do they call that points on a driver's license? Is that having points on a license? I've never had that before. This is basically, I actually thought of like YouTube strikes when I saw this as being the comparison, but it's not exactly the same thing. But essentially, if you get moderated, if, you know, offensive gamer tag or harassment or hate speech in messaging or whatever the things are that they would moderate you for, you are now going to carry strikes on your account. Mm-hmm. And each strike comes with a specific time period of suspension. And if you get more strikes expire after 6 months. But if you get more strikes while you still have standing strikes, those count cumulatively, right? So like if you got a strike 2 months ago and you get another one, you now have two. But if you had a strike 8 months ago and you got another one, you only have one, right? Mm-hmm. The suspensions go up to a year. If you get 8 strikes in a period before any of them, if you make it up to 8 strikes on your account, you get suspended for a year from Xbox Live. I'm
going to say 8 strikes within the 6-month period seems fairly generous.
That's actually fairly lenient, yes.
That seems fairly generous, yes. They say, I don't know if this is unusual, they say that this is just banning or suspending from online multiplayer and social features. You'll still have all access to your single player content, things you bought,
Just
and can play offline.
Keep you away from other people for a while.
I don't know if our bans on most services just blanket. You can't log in, you can't do shit, you can't even play the games you bought. I don't think they call attention to that in this in such a way that it makes me wonder if that is actually common, that people just lose access to their account content.
I don't know. I
don't either.
Yeah.
I don't either, but I don't know. This seems like a pretty smart rolling way to escalate punishment.
One of the things
if people are just real shitheads on a repeat basis. One
of the things I saw here in this write up on their reporting here was it does say that all reports are evaluated and there are no automated enforcement actions, so that somebody will go and look into a report. And the really interesting thing here that was, I thought, smart of them to put in this write up and to do, because obviously you don't want this to be abused, is it says no volume of inaccurate reports results in an enforcement. So you can't have a bunch of your friends just go put in a bunch of reports on somebody because you hate them.
Yes.
So volume will not dictate enforcement.
Yes.
Each report will be taken. Only reports that have been reviewed by the Xbox safety team and determined to be accurate result in an enforcement. So volume is not a trigger for enforcement, which I think is important. Like, you, especially in an age of streaming where you can have your followers all go and like be like, everybody report this person. I just streamed with them and they did a thing, and like now everybody go report this person, which is super important.
Yeah, strikes are like validated enforcement actions, not just reports. So anyway,
yeah.
Try not to spend a year in Xbox jail
if you can avoid it.
If you can help it. Maybe don't be enough of a shithead to, or even like for a day.
Gosh.
What is it? I had it in front of me. It is 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, 14, 21, 60, and 365. From 1 strike to 8 are the periods of suspension for this.
It's a pretty good spread.
They have a graphic in this story which made me laugh. The enforcement stacking / user journey.
It's a very user journey is, boy.
That is some phrasing.
That's some real business analytics stuff there. Also, this infographic is very nicely produced.
It is kind of it looks like something, though. I gotta say, it looks like something out of like Portal 2. Like here's your user journey on your enforcement stacking.
Suspension 3. It's like this weirdly. I'm not sure what word to place on this. Like this really realistic, illustrative sort of like suspension 1, user reported for game tag. Suspension 2, user reported for message. Appeal from suspension 2, user wins appeal. It's this weird timeline.
Moderator reviews and categorizes as hate speech.
Yeah, user reported for Gamerpic. Obscene Gamerpics are a scourge on. Can you be reported for a Gamerpic? Do they not still just control what you put on there?
I don't know.
Or can you like use any photo now?
I gotta call out also in this infographic the like happy part where the break is, where it says user reads community guideline and improves behavior, and then there's a big break there, and then the strikes begin to be removed after that 6-month period, which is it all ends happily for this user journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Zero at the end of this long timeline. 0 of 8 strikes.
Yeah, they made it. I looked.
So yes, improvement is possible.
This we reported previously. Xbox incorporating also reporting of recorded interactions where you can submit online audio and I guess video. It was also for review as well. So. Now the enforcement part. The reporting part, now the enforcement part. Watch your strikes, people. Watch your strikes.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Just don't be a dick.
It's so hard. It's so hard. It
doesn't have to be.
Okay. I'll watch my phrasing as well.
No.
Brad, last story here.
Keith David. Perhaps you've heard of him.
I love him.
I have.
Keith David's pretty great. Keith David is stepping into the shoes. I'm sorry, he's stepping into the oversized metal pauldrons of Commander Zavala in Destiny 2, taking the place of Lance Reddick, who passed away.
It's a bittersweet story.
Some weeks ago. Yeah, it's a weird one of like, Keith David has been in so many video games, and I still get excited anytime I see Keith David is in something, but then it makes you remember, like, oh, that's why they needed a new actor. Oh, shit.
Yeah, look, I have mixed feelings about this, and I'm not sure where Destiny 2 is even currently, so I guess I can't speak intelligently about it.
Let's not even get into... The most recent thing I saw about Destiny 2 was the game director, like, doing a candid, like, look into the webcam and talk for 15 minutes thing of, like, players are super mad about something again, like, gotta get out there and try to address it. If that tells you anything about where Destiny is at.
So I guess in thinking about that, I don't know what their narrative stories are for Zavala, and if the Zavala is deeply integrated currently into the current narrative.
Well, I mean, currently as in, like, literally right now, I don't know, but he definitely has been, like, very core to the ongoing story.
Yeah, like,
in the last couple of years.
Could you write a scenario where Zavala is gone and continue with whatever core story you have to kind of put Zavala's character to rest? Or do you need Zavala's character right now? So, I think personally, maybe I would say it would be nice to just give Zavala's character an exit, because Lance Reddick was really embodied that character, was not only just vocally, like, online and goofing around on Twitter.
He loved Destiny, like, he played it a lot,
So, as much as I like Keith David, maybe a little weird to just swap in another character to continue that role, but I get it if it's very narratively important and you have a story to tell here.
Yeah, they also go out of their way to mention that all of Lance's lines will remain in the game, which is going to be weird because he recorded all of the stuff where you would just, like, these characters who do story stuff are also quest vendors, they're also just people who stand there and say the same 3 lines every time you go up to them to turn quests in. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. Like, they didn't flat out say that Keith David will be re-recording 0 lines. I guess they gave themselves some wiggle room. But, like, are you going to get Lance's lines when you talk to the character in the tower and then immediately watch a cutscene with Keith David? I wonder how they navigate that.
I don't know.
I think that's the thing that kind of throws me off a little bit about it, is, like, it's one thing when you're replacing an actor for stuff that is just going forward, but if you're intermingling those lines, like, look, I love Keith David. I am never unhappy to experience Keith David in a thing, but I'm going to be real, he does not sound like Lance Reddick.
They're very different.
Other than having deep voices, they do not sound alike.
No.
Yeah.
Like, is he going to be doing that cadence, like that very deliberate Zavala cadence in the performance? Is he going to try and emulate that? It's, in my playing of Destiny, I'm not a huge Destiny player. It's like Zavala is a very even-toned, character, and I like Keith David when he gets angry. Like a kind of expression.
Or intense,
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's, again, look, I am extremely glad that we didn't have to go through the backlash and the whole thing of them saying, look, we're going to generate Lance Reddick's voice, right? Like, I am so glad this isn't even a conversation we're having of the, them trying to navigate this.
I think Bungie is just savvy enough to not try and pull something like that, as much as that does feel like the trend these days. I think they understand that people would absolutely fucking read them the riot act if they tried that bullshit.
Yeah.
But that conversation at least was had at some point.
And we got to remember, this is the company that had an entire game with the what's the companion called? Your buddy, the little floating
Ghost.
Ghost, revoiced at some point.
Yes. They were so unhappy with that Peter Dinklage performance.
Were they?
My understanding was that they were not thrilled with how that thing went.
Were they unhappy with it, or was it just backlash?
I don't know.
I think it was both. And I mean, real. I love Peter Dinklage. He was fucking terrible in that role, and you could tell.
It. I thought it sounded robotic. Like it sounded. I don't know. I mean, there was something amusing on a meta level of thinking about Peter Dinklage just being like completely over it and phoning it in and completely disinterested in what he was doing, but also it felt like it fit a robot reasonably well.
See, to me, it didn't read as robotic. It read as confused.
I mean, it was some really confusing lines in there.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is, I don't necessarily blame an actor being handed that script going, what the fuck do you mean this wizard came from the moon? What are you talking about?
But the only way you can deliver that line is deadpan, man.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I just appreciated that they didn't just immediately go Marvel style, like wisecracking robot, and then that's kind of what they brought Nolan North in to do.
Yeah, I'm not saying what they replaced it with is like inherently better or anything. I'm just saying that it felt like Dinklage never really understood what that was supposed to be, and they never found a way to communicate to him what that was supposed to be.
I think in the end here, I just kind of wish they gave Zavala's character a very respectful and graceful exit, and had a different stand-in character that Keith David voiced. Again, I understand within the lore, Zavala is a very deep and ingrained character in the what are the Guardian collectives called? The three of them. I forget like the initial.
They have a name.
I thought they did. Zavala, the warlock trainer,
Ikora.
Yeah, and the Cade
6.
Okay,
Hmm.
Who did come back despite being dead. They did bring him back.
Spoilers.
Just make another one. I'm sure he was backed up somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Get Keith David to voice Cade.
Just get Keith David to do all the voices. Fuck it. Right?
Let's just be done. I think your character has a voice now. I feel like the last time I played Destiny, my character was talking in a cutscene and was like, oh, wait, what?
Very little remembered fact that you did talk a little bit even in the first Destiny. I always forget that unless I go back and see some footage where it happens. Like it was so rare that everybody forgot.
Destiny.
Still a going concern to some degree.
The Final Shape, that's the name of their big campaign.
That's the next expansion, yeah.
Rhombus of Ruin. Mm-hmm. Destiny, The Final Shape. Mm-hmm. Who knew? That's not out yet, right?
No, they haven't even announced anything but the name.
Gosh, I haven't played.
I don't believe, or maybe they've talked more about what's in it. I don't think.
I don't know. I've still got all my gear from the time I played Destiny for a lot. And happy with that gun. Destiny 2. Zavala.
Destiny 2.
R.I.P. Lance Reddick. That's going to do it for the news. We've got emails here. You can send them in to podcast@nextlander.com. That is podcast@nextlander.com. Brad Shoemaker, what you got in the old email bin?
Here's an email from Walter. We have taken a break from Twin Peaks, but it's about Twin Peaks.
Okay.
It's entitled Bruce DeRay.
Okay.
Can you guess where this is going?
Yes.
Can you?
I can.
Okay. Alex mentioned recently that he's been rewatching Kids in the Hall, and that made me realize how amazing Bruce McCullough would have been in the role of Leo Johnson. Eric DeRay speaks just like a Bruce McCullough character.
He's not wrong.
Leo Johnson, huh?
Bruce McCullough, I think... Here's the thing I'll give Eric DeRay, who I don't think is the most dynamic or interesting actor, but I think is fine in the Leo role. And
he does have some of the most dynamic and interesting hair, though.
He does, especially off camera. But I think the problem with Bruce in that role is that it is impossible to take Bruce McCullough seriously as menacing. Like, he just doesn't have that gear that I've ever seen. He is really good and weird and quirky and funny, and sometimes can do some pretty thoughtful comedic acting, but I just don't see him as menacing guy. Also, he's like 5'6".
I could see, all right, look, not the kind of menacing that Leo wants to be, and you're right, like Leo's got an intimidation factor.
Yeah.
I think Bruce can come off as Joker-esque menacing, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, he's got that straight-faced kind of quality where it's like, slicing someone up in a bathroom, but with like a straight face kind of thing on. Like, what? I'll be right out for dinner. Kind of menacing quality, but not the like Leo's like shitheel kind of dirtbaggy stuff.
Yeah,
I think I agree with you there.
Well, and I think part of what works about Eric DeRay in that role is that he also does not feel fully menacing, but he feels like he's trying too hard, which is what that character is doing. Is trying to be way harder than he actually is.
Sure. Yes.
So that's the thing I will give that actor and that character credit for. But also, yeah.
He didn't have much of a career after that show, from what I looked up.
No, and again, part of the reason I think he got cast in the first place is that his mother was the casting agent on the show.
Okay.
On Kids in the Hall?
No. On Twin Peaks.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant Bruce McCullough. Oh, okay. Sorry. I was like, he's great.
Come on now.
No, I was like, he's amazing. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. That's interesting.
Well, whatever. Lynch doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would accept, like, undesirable casting choices being foisted upon him. I don't know.
Oh, I don't think he would have done it unless he felt like having him in that role. But
yeah.
I think that was how he kind of got into the sphere of, like, how did he get cast in this?
Again, when I take a step back and I look at it, it all seems to fit. Like, it's such a weird mishmash of characters and actors doing certain roles and stuff. It doesn't stand out to me necessarily. Twin Peaks, ready to get back to it whenever we can.
Yes.
Still need to find out what the hell's going on there.
Once the auction is settled, or sorry, not the auction, the strike is settled.
Yes.
And everything is the people get what they want, then I say we go back to it.
Hell yeah.
But not until then.
Another email?
Yeah, let's do one more here from Ben in the UK.
Hi, Ben.
Hi.
You mentioned recently on the Ramblecast the Kinect being used for ghost hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have experience with the Kinect in manufacturing. An equally terrifying field. That's my editorial there, just in case you... One of our technology vendors used the Kinect to provide 3D hand tracking for assisted work instructions. This is super cool, actually. Basically, through a combination of a screen connected to a Windows desktop, a projector projecting downwards using mirrors to flip the image onto a workbench, and the Kinect, it could project icons onto the correct bins to pick parts from. Think screws, bolts, washers, etc. And the Kinect was able to track your hand movements and alert the user if the wrong part had been picked up, or if the correct part was chosen, project and track where the screw was required, and update the back-end system with -1 of that part.
What?
Additionally, it could be used to track positions on the desk, like moving onto the next assembly instruction, activating a smart tool, or completing the assembly process. That's pretty rad.
Huh.
That's pretty cool.
I got computers yelling at me because I'm taking the wrong screw.
Yes.
Yeah, look, that's probably good to know.
It's probably good to know. That's cool.
That's probably... Being able to see what thing you need to grab next probably makes things easier.
That's a neat implementation.
So we should bring back the Kinect.
Has something, I guess, follow-up question for the audience. Has something succeeded the Kinect? Is there like a...
Oh, in like industrial applications?
Yeah, like is there a product out there that's like, we obviously there was a need in this market. We should make a thing that's not dedicated towards or geared towards this gaming thing that is an industrial...
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Like they did end up shipping a non-game version of Kinect, remember? I think it was the same hardware, but it was like... Did they just call it Kinect for Windows or something like that? But it was basically just a Kinect in a box that you could buy and use for PC and stuff like this, and not need an Xbox. I don't know. I don't know if there's like some successor to that. Maybe not from Microsoft, but somebody.
Interesting. Or have we just gone into like maybe the technology has leapfrogged where it's like, this technology doesn't get used for this anymore. There's totally something else.
Yeah. Now what if it was a ghost trying to do the manufacturing? What then?
Well, I don't know. Would they be detected?
I don't know.
I have to watch more of these ghost shows to know what's going on here.
That I can help you with.
Oh, man. Alex, would you go into a haunted house? Okay. Would you go into a claimed haunted house by yourself for 24 hours, spend the night?
By myself?
Yeah, solo. Claimed.
Why you gotta do this to me? What do I get out of it?
Nothing.
Then no. Fuck that.
No?
No.
You get to sate your curiosity on whether, like, ghosts or not.
I don't think I'm going to prove life after death in 24 hours. I think that is probably asking a little much of me. But if I get something out of it, fuck it, I'll do it.
You get $1,000.
I'd at least think about that.
Okay, Brad.
I would consider that, but
it's a fine. It's not a like bugs are not a problem or mold or anything like that. Not a problem.
I don't know. I don't know if $1,000 is at worth my time level. Frankly,
it's all right. How about this? It's in a place you get the rest of the week there, and it's a place you'd want to take vacation. You just have to spend one night in this place, and you get like a nice hotel and a week in that place.
Like if it was a nice place, sure. Like I thought.
The haunted house is not a nice place.
I was envisioning it as like, this is shitty. This is going to be unpleasant. Like I'm not going to like being there for a night.
Well, you're not, because all the ghosts are going to fuck with you. That's why.
The place that's like haunted is Resident Evil 7 levels of kind of that like house there.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was envisioning. Like I was like, no, that's not. I would absolutely not. That's not worth it for me to go there for an experience that unpleasant.
But you get a weekend and rest of the area, which is very nice, and a nice hotel, all paid for. You just have to spend one night. And someone, additional thing, someone or multiple people definitely died in that house. Confirmed. Does that change anything for you, or? I'm gonna say no. I don't know. I'm too much of a superstitious person to want to do it. I don't want to spend a night in a house.
Not for $1,000
where somebody was murdered.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Let me follow up question. Not to get too morbid. Alex or Brad? I'm gonna start with you, Alex. You got a good deal on a house. Buying a house. It's in a neighborhood you want. You find out 100 years ago there was a horrific series of murders in that house. Does that change your mind on that house at all? You're getting a good deal, great neighborhood. It's exactly where you want to be.
Yeah,
100 years ago. What'd you say?
I'm in.
You're in. No problem.
I might not be able to go through with it.
Yeah, honestly. I don't know. Humans are so broken.
I don't think so.
I think I might pass. I don't think I could do it. I don't know, but I fully acknowledge that's not a rational thing. I'm okay with it, though. We're moving to the next town. All right. Is that going to do it for the emails?
Yes.
Sorry, Vinny had a couple of follow-up emails. Let us know if you live in a house that 100 years ago had some kind of horrible thing, and if it's worked out just fine. I watched too many movies too young. That's it. I watched Poltergeist too young. It'll just never be able to shake some of that stuff. That's gonna do it for this week's show. Time to get back. I gotta get back to playing some more Baldur's Gate. I gotta get in there. It's not too many weeks until Starfield. I gotta clear the plate. Check that thing out.
Wait, do you really think you're gonna finish it before then?
What do we got?
What have we got?
Well, no.
What we got is a different
official release date. Official release date's what? 2 weeks? 2 full weeks off?
That's still about 3 weeks away.
Okay.
Unless, well, no. I mean, if you get the expensive edition, what do they say? Up to 6 days before release.
Yeah. So
up to 5 days. So it's basically the end of the month. So yeah, like 2 weeks actually.
I think I could be done with Baldur's Gate 3 on an initial playthrough in 2 weeks. I feel like because at the pace I'm going, that would probably be around 100+ hours, and I think that's probably going to be satisfactory. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see, but yeah, I don't know. I have to look at the release calendar to see what else is also popping up, because it's not like all of my time. Look, Madden comes out this Friday, so we still got
for some people it's already out.
Immortals of Avium. We got Fort Solis. Games are coming out. Got Gamescom announcing stuff. Or I looked at the kind of hype machine for the Gamescom opening night. Is that what it's called? Something.
Yes, opening night live.
It didn't seem that promising.
Pretty muted.
Yeah, it seemed kind of muted, I guess is the word to say.
I mean, Keeley was basically out there saying, don't expect a lot of new game announcements. Like, expect this to be heavy on updates on games you already know about.
Yeah, so...
And he said that before the E3 timeframe one as well, and look how that turned out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing this is probably even more that.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to announce games that are shipping this year, this late in the year.
Yes.
So,
So
like,
yeah,
when the MC of your own thing is out there saying like, "Hey, don't get too excited about this," like
Maybe dial it down a notch.
it raises some questions.
I look forward to updates on existing games, announced games.
Yes, I look forward to having the exact correct amount of excitement for what's happening.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird messaging.
That Armored Core game coming out soon, 2 weeks, a weekish. That's gonna do it for this week's show. We got a bunch of stuff going on. Like we said, on Monday, you could go back in time. You can watch the archive of our Vampire Survivors co-op playthrough. It's really interesting. I recommend checking it out. If you have any questions about how that's going, or if you have some friends, just go play it. And if you own Vampire Survivors, it's out there. We're going to be doing a grab bag on this Thursday. We'll try and maybe get some Moving Out 2 in there. Probably show some On Guard along with some other stuff. Check it out. And then on Friday, we're still toying with the little the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's going to be out. It's on Game Pass. The async on that is a little weird. Asynchronous, whatever they're calling it. What do they call it? Not asynchronous.
Asymmetric.
Sorry. Asymmetric stuff where it's like there are more than one baddies out there per the group of survivors. So that's kind of interesting. We've got to see what that group dynamic is like. So that might be on Friday to check out. We are continuing with the Watchcast. We're continuing down lovely computer lane, lovely serial projects lane, serial experiments. Sorry, serial experiments lane, where the computer just keeps getting bigger. It will not stop getting bigger, no matter
Computer escalation is a real problem.
No matter what anybody tries, the computer just will not stop taking over everything. And I'm gonna say we haven't recorded it quite yet. Shit's moving forward here. Stuff is happening. Are questions being answered? No, I don't know. I think I'm more confused now than I was before this batch of episodes.
Fantastic.
But yes, you can check that out over at patreon.com/Nextlander, along with a bunch of other stuff over there. Ramblecast, Never Been a Better Podcast, whole bunch of business. We're trying to figure out what we're going to be doing after this round of Watchcast stuff, and we'll have that by the time we finish. By the time we finish Lane, we will update you on what's next for the old Watchcast. So stick around, pay attention over on that front. Again, patreon.com/Nextlander, where you can find a bunch of different tiers there. A tier that fits your lifestyle, and one tier over on the Patreon is the Mysterious Benefactor tier, where you can get your name read here on this show, this very show here. And I'm going to do that for everyone today, starting with Ryan Waterman, RRE, John Richardson, Vornak, Kelly F., Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, Sean Miller, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Deidre, 7th Level Warlock, Gary Pejke, Robert Fisher, John McInnes, Bunny Fiend, Peter Reardon, Thomas Lynn, Jad Rita, Statics, Andrew Jackson, Mega Crane, Razgriz 2, Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, It's Me JP, Matt Clements Jr., Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese. Those are our mysterious benefactors for this week. Thanks to everyone who has helped us out over on the Patreon side of things. Couldn't do it without you over there. Thanks everyone for tuning in on Twitch, YouTube, listening to the podcast. For those asking, we are still not hooked up with a merchandise place yet, but we'll hopefully have that sorted at some point.
We want to do it right when we move to another platform.
Or at least less wrong.
Yeah.
Before we commit to another platform. Sorry about that. If people are asking or are looking for sweet Nextlander merch, we'll just slight update there. And again, a bunch of stuff going on this week. as we get ready to roll into September, which, if you missed the Planoramas, I'm going to tell you, it's kicking off in September.
Oh, yeah.
So, not so much November, but
No.
September. So yeah, hope everybody's having a good time out there. If you're playing some Baldur's Gate 3, hopefully your party is doing just fine. You and your party are having a good time. Thank you, Brad Shoemaker. Thank you, Alex Navarro. And we'll be back next week.